Hello, my name's Naomi DeJesus, she, her, hers pronouns. So our group, Orange Log, uh, watched the first Blackish episode, the pilot. So in this episode, we're learning about Andre Johnson, the father of the family, who is married to his biracial wife and has 3 children. He's being promoted in his job. So it's like a white advertising firm, predominantly white advertising firm. He's the first Black person to be promoted as a senior VP in the advertising firm. So he's very proud of that. Then he kind of starts engaging, starts experiencing some micro macro aggressions, in the sense that they make him the VP of like the urban division. And he's kind of exploring what that means and trying to navigate what that looks like, while also trying to help his family navigate some things. So his wife, possibly because of her biracial experiences, has a hard time kind of acknowledging some of the microaggressions that he might be like processing and at work, and kind of is happy that their children like don't see color and things like that, while at the same time trying to help his son navigate being in a predominantly white school, because he feels like his son might be assimilating at the cost of not really embracing their Black culture as well. So at the end of the episode, he kind of helps his son both embrace himself, but realizes, and it helps him embrace some more just family things, like instead of playing field hockey, playing basketball, but not because he's Black, just because that's what he enjoys and that's what his father did. Kind of helping him have like a coming of age party, and also ends up navigating his new position at his job, and having his wife kind of acknowledge those barriers too.
So when I think about this episode, or the first pilot episode, I really think about the concepts that we've been thinking about in intersectionality. And so Andre is a Black man. He's also a father. He also, like Naomi said, is working in a predominantly white area in advertising, and is just promoted to like more of a senior leadership position. So I really think about how all those all of those identities are intersecting into one, and making this like very complex character throughout the episode. One thing I really resonated myself personally was with the wife, when she said that she was like a female doctor, because she is mixed race. Something that I really resonated prior being like in a STEM field, was how like that wasn't really like unpacked a lot, and something that I thought, as a mixed race woman, especially in the medical field, is something that it's not seen. And how she said that she compared her profession to her husband's on like she said that she was saving lives, but then also like her husband's position was also still very important as well, but just in a different aspect. So something of how those two intersectionalities of identities kind of came together even in their marriage was interesting to me.
I think too, connecting the intersectionality between the mother and the father to family engagement, specifically like critical race parenting, that's something that I drew from the episode, specifically looking at the article from De Pauw and Mateus. So they talked a lot about how critical race parenting pulls from critical race theory. And one of the big things is to challenge color blindness. And so the example in the show was when the daughter was referencing one of her schoolmates and talking about how she smells, what she says, but she didn't acknowledge, like, this is my only peer who is Black in my classroom. And the mother seemed pretty chill about it and was like, aren't you happy that she doesn't see color? Whereas the father was like, no, this is her peer, the only other person that's the same race as her. She should be seeing that and not be colorblind to it. And so when you think about the intersectionality of the father and his work aired under the urban division, and then bringing that back into the fact that he's full Black while the mother is biracial, works as a doctor and sees things a little differently, you get that kind of pushback. Something else that I also found really interesting when it comes to family engagement was using the community cultural wealth from Yoso. And so the example there is that the father creates really high expectations for his kids by keeping it real. And so like one of the examples is that his son wants to be named Andy at school. But then again, then the father is like, your name is Andre, you should be proud of that name. Janet, do you want to add to that?
Yes, thank you. I just don't want to interrupt, but that was all great. So yeah, as you were speaking, I was actually going to talk about the points made in the Matias and DePau article, where race often leads to deficit assumptions. So basically, like, I was thinking back of what Andre was experiencing in terms of his experience and being placed in the urban division as the only Black male, and you know how he reflects on, did they give me this because I earned it, or did they give me this because of like my race? So I was thinking back on, like, it's almost as though it's backhanded, right? So they're like, oh, here's this opportunity, you know, upward mobility, but he's only receiving it. He feels as though he's only receiving it because of his identity, which then, going back to the parents, I'm thinking about how the children, yes, they're getting these opportunities, like the parents are getting these opportunities, but you know, they still feel like they don't have that sense of belonging as they're navigating. But I also reflected on familial capital from community cultural wealth, where, like, you know, for me, it really inspired me to see this show as a woman of color, recognizing that, wow, like these children are going to have, you know, opportunities that most communities of color don't have. Because like, for example, I never saw a show. This is like one of the first shows that I've noticed people of color being placed in positions of power. So like for me, I'm thinking on how people like me that watch these shows are now being empowered to pursue these type of careers. But also in the episode, I'm seeing how the kids are like knowledgeable on, you know, the good, like the upward mobility of society, but not so much in the hardships that like people of color face. So thinking about the familial capital they're receiving through their parental, you know, experiences, as well as navigational capital, like they're going to be able to give their kids the tools to navigate society and move upward, given the opportunities both Bo and Dre have received. So, yeah.
Yeah, something that I thought about was, hold on one second, you have to turn your sound down, was the Parenting While Powerless article by Whitaker and Snell. There's a section specifically where he refers to how this new generation of African American youth, generation that has grown up largely ignoring color with an African American president, you know, just that being a thing already when they were born, is very relevant to comments made on the show. And they're saying how like they must now confront the same realities of generations before them. So they, especially like they have to try to learn with the complicity of African American parents. And also like something in the resistant capital from Yoso's theory talks about like how sometimes parents trying to conform is a way for them to like deal with some of the complexities like of what's going on now. So I think that's just an interesting topic. Like, how do you help, you know, people who are raised in the generation of already having, you know, certain justices in place, but still acknowledging the systems that are barriers for them institutionally. So yeah.